Before Adam comes up, let me say a few words. I want you to think of 3 different job titles. Intern at a major company, CEO of that same major company, and professional football player. You probably thought of 3 different people. In this case, you would be wrong. It's our honor to have with us today. Adam Wright is the president and CEO of MidAmerican Energy. They currently use nearly 50% of all their electricity is wind energy, and in 2016 they announced that they will soon be 100% renewable energy driven. Adam, yeah, that is worth a round of applause. Adam joined MidAmerican 20 years ago as an intern. And his mother talked about from early on, Adam had such a plan. And in a few minutes, I want to ask Adam about his plans. Now, this conference, as the previous speakers have done, we normally talk about some of the technical stuff, and we will get to that with Adam. But I also want to ask him about leadership, his personal journey, what type of vision it takes, what type of character it takes to be in this industry and to succeed in this industry. I might go on a tangent to ask him a question about being in the NFL and what he learned and did there and how that may apply to MidAmerican and being in the energy sector. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome, Adam Wright, CEO of MidAmerican Energy.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh.
All right.
I'll tell you what, the chair is an indication the future is here, man.
Get comfortable, relax.
You're in my bubble, so I'm going to scoot back a little
bit.
That's right.
Yeah, now I'm worried. Running back in college at the NFL, which we'll get to in a second. But before we talk about that, Adam, can you just say a word, your upbringing? Where did you come from? You know, childhood, leading up to football. When did you start playing football? Tell us about your upbringing.
All right, so I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, on the northeast side of town. That would be like the south side of Chicago, but tamed down a little bit. Pretty rough here, but plenty rough enough. Father passed away when I was 8. My mom went back to school. She got a nursing degree. She worked full time. Needed something to do, so football was around the corner. So started playing for a local team. It was a pretty raggedy league. We had the coach would come around and pick us up in like a '79 Chevy Caprice. So no buses. We all piled into a car. And so I fell in love with the game, though. Playing football at that kind of initial stage. I think we had maybe 6 people on the team. Need 11, if you didn't know that. So from there, my mom started dating a guy when I was in 7th grade, and he got me signed up for real football. Yep. And just had a passion for it and started playing in 7th grade and never stopped.
You mentioned briefly, but I want to go back. You lost your father when you were a young child. Yeah. I'll also share I did as well, and your thoughts. I mean, what impact? Obviously, unsettling for the family. You didn't have your father as a role model, somebody to help guide you. Other thoughts on that? I mean, that had to have influenced your value, your approach to life, or
I think in a lot of ways. And everyone's got a story, and so everyone's got their story of triumph, whatever that looks like, relationally or whatever it might be. For me, I saw my mom not make any excuses, and so now I feel like I'm on Dr. Phil because it made me cry. It made me cry. So not making excuses. She didn't want us to get free lunch. Nothing wrong with that, but there was a pride inside of her that said we're going to figure this out. Yep. So she went back to school, picked up the pieces, never made an excuse, never complained about things. Did a fantastic job. So that showed me a little bit about work ethic. Yep. And nothing in life is free. Nothing comes easy. If you want it, you have to work for it. I think from my dad's side of things, I think it helped me, kind of thinking about it, in hindsight, I guess. I didn't really know my dad a whole lot. So 8 years old when he passes away, so you can just imagine as a little kid, you don't have a lot of time to ask questions about who your first girlfriend was, where'd you go to high school, are you a Democrat or Republican? You didn't know any of that stuff. But if you saw him, you saw me following behind him. I knew enough about the vision of him as a man and as a husband, as a dad, that I wanted to be behind him. And I think a lot of ways in leadership is the same way. I mean, you fall in love with the vision, you fall in love with the idea first, and the details and other things sort of come along with that, and you learn it as you go.
Yeah.
Because there's no doubt, if he'd have lived, by now, I'd have a good understanding of who he is.
Yeah.
But I didn't need that to get started following behind him.
You talked about the work ethic that you learned early on. Talk further about leadership. I mean, you're now CEO of a major company. What's your leadership style, and perhaps what did you learn growing up that helped frame that leadership style?
Yeah, so this is a true story. I forget all the time that I'm in this role. So when people say it, I kind of step back and go, I guess I am in that role now. Because leadership in a lot of ways, it doesn't really change. In a lot of ways, it doesn't. I mean, we all know kind of the fundamentals of leadership. It's resources, it's risks, it's results. I mean, that kind of frames it up. But underpinning that is people. I mean, we don't lead things. You do things. You lead people. And so for me, the biggest part of leadership is how do I cultivate this mass of humanity around a common vision, get them to think and to be more and to do more than they think they're capable of doing, to get them to run at optimal. It's almost like big data, and it's almost like big turbines, and it's about lower I mean, you're trying to optimize people and get people to really, run at full speed. And so my leadership style is to really try to collaborate and connect with people. And I would say early on in my career, that was something I didn't do a good job of. My first professional career was to literally run people over to get to where I needed to go. And so that kind of carried over into the business world, and it was all about results. It wasn't about relationships. So now I realize the value of relationships. If I can get people to actually believe more in themselves and run at a higher pace and higher speed, I mean, the lift that we'll get from that is remarkable. I think we're seeing it. I think we've got a great culture at MidAmerican. Some of my team members are sitting over there, and I think we've got the best and the brightest. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
You kind of took us there, and I'll just further discussion, running with speed. Clearly, football did have an impact on you, playing pro ball with the Giants. Mm-hmm. Any other lessons learned? I mean, oh my God. I mean, being a professional player, you had to have learned a lot. How did that go? What did you take away from it?
Well, I learned the guys are big and fast. They hit hard. So no real leadership principle there, just something I learned. So when I was in college, I guess I'll try to frame it up for you. Attention to detail was huge. I think a discipline around preparing yourself for the task at hand was a big part of it, and then kind of conditioning yourself physically. So attention to detail. When I was in college, we were playing Minnesota State Mankato, small Division II school. I played Division II football, and I was getting close to breaking the school's all-time leading rushing record. And we ran a play, first play of the game, it's an 80-yard touchdown, broke the record. So we ended up winning the game, we're watching film, and we're in the film session, and the coach is just watching my first step over and over again. Just step, rewind, step, rewind. He looks at me, and he goes, are we coaching you to step to the outside leg of the guard or the inside leg of the guard? And I was like, the inside leg. Where's your foot? The outside leg. That's going to get us beat. And he fast forwards to the run. It mattered. It didn't matter then, but it would matter on 4th and 1. And I need to be right on point. So paying attention to all the details matters, even if you're successful in the outcome. Looking back, your lessons learned and how do you plan to get better. I'd say the mental aspect of the game for me. So in college, it was I write 18. I write 18. They say it twice for you. So first play in the NFL, boogie to Fox right, F motion, 382, Y slant, X Dallas on 2. One time, you're out of the huddle. So I knew right away that there was a higher level of learning and preparation that was going to be involved if I was going to be successful. And I think conditioning physically, very tough game, very brutal game. Everybody is trying to eat, they should say. And so if you're not going to condition yourself physically to be able to endure the regimen of practice and the games and the competition, you're going to falter and fail pretty quickly. And a lot of that's coming to play now. So, managing gas, managing wind, challenges for sure. But it was, say it twice, and it was I write 18. Now I've got this big, long equation of a play to try to figure out and balance. And the endurance, I work from the time I wake up and the time I go to bed, figuring it out.
There you go.
Yeah.
As I think folks know, we have the collegiate wind competition here at the show. So, Adam, we've got a number of college students throughout the trade show. Walk us through how you went from NFL to intern at MidAm, and then we're going to talk about how you go from intern to CEO, not a small step. But how did you make your way to MidAm?
So I started interning right away, right out of high school. 18 years old, ended up redshirting, so I got an internship, and so that was 1996. So when the football was on from August till November, December, depending on how well we did that season, I'd play football, go to school, and then from basically December until the next August, I would intern and go to school and do the practices, et cetera. 2001, I went to the NFL for 2 years and came back and picked up my internship again because I figured the NFL thing wasn't going to work out with the knee injuries. And so people would tell me I went from being in the NFL to the IFL, the National Football League, to being an intern for life, because it was like 7 years of being an intern. So I just stayed connected to the company. You mentioned my mom said I always had a plan. I don't remember saying that. I'm sure at some point my mom was quoted saying that. Because I've kind of been intentional about trying to be successful in what I'm doing, not my career per se, but I was always aware of the fact that football was never going to be the thing, ever. It was always going to be a vehicle to get me in a position to prepare myself for what is going to be really the majority of your life, the vast majority of your life. So.
Let's talk, I can't resist, sorry. Let's talk about wind.
Okay.
Wind energy, MidAmerican.
Yep.
Extraordinary investment. Can you help share some of the logic, rationale? You guys have been building, buying a lot of wind. Why?
Yep. So going back, I think the leadership is about people.
Yep.
That's what people want, right? We're moving towards a society where we want things to be sustainable. We want things to be renewable. There's a consciousness about the way we consume things. I was told not to bring a plastic water bottle up here because we're aware of it, right? We're trying to make sure we're being responsible. And I think our organization from the beginning was really, born out of two leaders that had a renewable background, and they saw the importance of that. They could see the trend where it's going. And then got involved in that early. You mentioned some of the renewable portfolio standard stuff and the advanced rate making principles, et cetera. So nice framework in Iowa to get us going in that. We saw the future was going to be wind and renewable energy. It clearly is. And so we got in early and took advantage of the opportunities, the production tax credits, the great regulatory environment, legislative environment, and adding wind at no cost to our customers. It's something Tom didn't point out. 100% renewable energy vision. I think we'll be there, Mike, summer 2020, 2021-ish. And we will not have raised rates on our customers as a result.
I think that deserves another round of applause. That's impressive.
Yeah, big deal. Big deal.
Yeah. Now, I think it was in 2015, you went over to the gas side of the business. Talk to us about how that was, what you learned there.
So MidAmerican is a combination utility. It's an electric utility and a gas utility. At some point, my boss, Bill Furman, again, who gets a ton of credit for his leadership and leading us the last 12 years, he's now at the Berkshire Hathaway Energy level. He said, hey, if you ever want to run a utility, you're going to need some operations experience, some real operations experience. And so he, shuffled some things around, put me in gas. And what I learned there was kind of how a business works. It has its own balance sheet, it has its own rate making, structure around it, its own rate base, own set of customers and challenges. So I kind of learned how to run a business in a very safe environment, almost like being a backup quarterback, if you will. The thing I learned, though, again, I think this is where people jumped out to me. We have a union, represented workforce, and I don't think we necessarily collaborated well with them along the way. And there's a lot of tension, a lot of animosity, and people were just frustrated. And if you're going to move forward, you're going to need your people to be at their best. And I was ignorant to that. Renewables, everyone is happy in renewables, right? Everyone here they just love life, or we're doing whiz-bang type of things. So I went from wind, doing gigawatt and a half, whatever it is, big billion-dollar projects. You walk through here and everyone wants to meet you and shake your hand. I went to gas, and it's like, the stepchild in a way, right? So no love, no fanfare, no ribbons when I walked through. And it stung a little bit for me. I was trying to figure out, how do I get energy around? How do I get excited about this? And it dawned on me that there was this culture issue with our people. And I immediately lit up, got passionate about that, started figuring out how to engage our people. And when you do that, you figure out what's broken, what's not working, what can work better. And we start doing those things, and that whole gas business, I think, is a lot more sustainable because we've unlocked the potential in the people. So I think that's where I learned kind of the business side of things, of how to run a utility, but really learned about the value of people.
Good. Let's now move your CEO. You've got this plan to get to 100% renewables.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how you're planning on doing that? That's a significant transition, one we're extraordinarily excited about, but walk us through a bit of how you see that happening in the coming couple of years.
And just to clarify, so 100% renewable vision, again, not minute by minute, but we want the amount of renewable energy we produce over the course of a year to equal or exceed the amount of energy our customers consume. We want those to match up. We'll still have our coal fleet, very important. We'll have natural gas, peaker facilities and other things. So we're going to make sure lights are on 24/7. Until storage and other things catch up, we can start to phase that down even more. But we plan to get there. Mike Fair and Adam Jablonski, those are the folks that do our resource development and our projects, and they continue to find projects that work for our customers. And something to keep in mind, I mentioned again, they can't bring projects forward that just add wind. They have to bring projects forward that pay for themselves. They have to actually be sort of a benefit for our customer or we don't pursue it. And so they find very creative ways, structuring our BOP contracts, our turbine supply contracts, looking at ways to facilitate interconnection agreements and do certain things to give us a chance to do that. Yep. And so we have a Wind 11 project right now, $3.6 billion project, 2,000 megawatts that goes in service into 2019 fully. We have another project we're probably going to announce here shortly, another 590, 600 megawatts. We have repowering that's taking place. Not really going to add a whole lot of megawatts, but it's going to help us with that energy piece. So a lot going on to get us there.
Exciting, a lot of dimensions to it. If you can say a little bit more about your strategy in particular, you're not out there with a lot of PPAs. You want to build and own. Walk us through, I can imagine, but walk us through why. Give us a sense of why you've made that choice, and then I do want to segue to Brian's comment earlier about you being the beer holder, holding. But let's first talk about, not PPAs, doing build own. Walk us through that strategy.
So independent power producers and PPAs, they have value. We have a whole sister company that makes their hay that way, Berkshire Hathaway Renewables. If anyone's looking to connect with them, by all means. But for us in Iowa, we feel no one does it better. They're our customers. We feel like we can serve our customers better. We feel like we have the relationships, we have the wherewithal, we have the balance sheet, we have what it takes to provide that service to our customers for the lowest, best cost, most reliable service. We're going to treat the landowners with respect and dignity because we're their neighbors, we're in their backyards, and so we tend to want to own and operate ourselves. Yep. Plus, there's a long-term value when you do that. At the end of 10 years or 20 years or whatever, you still own those assets. You can manage how they're used and utilized as opposed to being stuck to some market price or PPA price that puts a lot of pressure on the customers. So fundamentally, we don't think anyone can do it better. It's just not arrogant. We just think that way. And so we prefer to do it that way. Yep.
And you plan on sticking with that strategy? Question.
We do. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about on the C&I side. So your sense, you want to be serving them, but your thoughts about some of the corporates preferring, no, we'd like to own, operate, we want to do our thing. How do you view corporates like that?
Yeah, same answer. Same answer. We feel we can do it better, and we want to do it better, but we want to listen to them and partner with what their needs are. What are they trying to accomplish? What is their end game? What is their strategy? Who are their constituents who are maybe putting pressure on them to maybe consume energy a certain way, and how do we figure that out together? Because we think we can do it better. It's just like Microsoft with their cloud services, right? They feel like they can aggregate things better rather than every single company having their own cloud service on premise. We think we provide the same value just on the energy side, but we want to listen and collaborate and do it. And we appreciate that being out there, because Muhammad Ali is not Muhammad Ali without Joe Frazier, right? Where are we at? Chicago? What, I'm seriously, sometimes I don't know if the teams are here, but Iowa State in Iowa, you got to have that kind of competitive environment, and it makes you think, it makes you innovate, it makes you push, it makes you challenge. It creates these gaps that you identify and say, how do we move and close that gap? And so we appreciate it, and we want to make sure we collaborate with them going forward and listen to them and come up with the best solution for not only them, but how do we parlay that into a solution for all our customers?
Yep. We've talked a little bit last day or so, production tax credit, PTC, is phasing down. I presume having the PTC has been an extraordinarily important part of your strategy. Talk us through that. Talk us through how you're thinking about the phase down, what impact that has or doesn't have on your strategy.
We're hustling because of the phase down. We want to try to capture as many projects as we can. The ironic thing, well, not ironic, it's just the reality of it. Being 100% renewable based on how much energy your customers consume, well, as you add more customers, that consumption is going to go higher. You got to continue to find ways to have renewable to keep at that 100%. And once we get there, we're not going backwards.
Yep.
And so we're trying to find as many projects as we can to build enough buffer so that hopefully the rest of the industry catches up with storage and BOP contractors get a little bit sharper pencils, and turbine suppliers keep going bigger and better and all that good stuff. So we want to continue to try to capture that going forward. Yep. And make sure we're getting those projects. What was your question?
So that answered on, that was good on the PTC. Now I'm gonna,
PTC. Yeah. So the PTC, that's going to phase out. We think we can make projects work 80% in some repowering projects, potentially at 60% PTC.
Great.
I'm not sure everybody else can do that.
I love that answer.
We can. Yeah, we can. But after that, there'll probably be a dip, but we want to get there. That was my point, yeah. So that the market can catch up with us, we want to get that buffer in place and allow us to stay above 100% renewable.
Great. Longer term, in the later 2020s and beyond, your thoughts on wind? Post PTC?
Yeah, people driven. Mandates. There are going to be mandates. There are going to be reasons that people want wind and renewable energy. You already see it, right? There are some places that are doing it. PTC adds value, but this is getting competitive in other places without the production tax credit already.
Yeah.
And so there just has to be some kind of push and desire to do it. And other utilities have a different mindset on what they do with rate base. So for them, it's probably not going to be a big deal to add renewables and raise rates a little bit. So us, it's a different challenge because of what our vision is to be a low-cost energy provider.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a little bit of a dip, but I think that the industry's going to figure it out and it's going to come back. I don't think it'd be at some of the levels we've seen as you're trying to ramp down on the different phase outs of the PTCs over time. I don't think we're going to see those big slugs of gigawatts coming in. I think it'd be steady.
Okay.
As people demand it.
Let's talk a little bit about wind, solar, and storage. We had a good laugh earlier when I introduced Adam to Kelly Speaks Bachman, and Adam goes, "Oh, good, yeah, we want to buy some storage." So would love to hear what's your sense of how this might be coming together, wind, solar, storage, or how are you guys looking at it?
It has to be economical. We have to find a way to do it in a very economical fashion. Solar in Iowa, there's a reason you grow corn and soybeans in Iowa and not cotton, right? So there's a reason you do wind in Iowa and not solar. And so solar is not a favorable outcome for our customers. It just costs too much. We can do wind at no net cost. We do solar at a significant cost to customers. So, but we know, again, back to people, our customers want it. So we're going to try to find a way to do maybe solar gardens or other things on a subscription basis so we can provide that value. But we wouldn't want to do it in mass because it's going to raise customer rates. So solar is in play, but not, as just a general generation source for us, more subscription basis. And then storage, I got to talk to Kelly to figure out and get connected with Mike to see how we can make that work. It's not economical now for us. We know that.
Yeah.
So there's some things we're going to have to figure out around that if we're going to get our toe in the water and try to explore a little bit.
Okay. Would love kind of a broader guidance from you to the wind industry. You got the industry here. We're a great bunch of folks, as you said earlier, positive energy, excited about the future. And what advice would you have for us as we're busy as can be, yes, with the PTC and charging forward, but what advice would you have for the industry?
3 words, figure it out. That's what I would say. Figure it out. Figure it out. Oh, thanks. I got 2 claps. 2 people are awake. I got 2 people awake. But figure it out. Figure it out. Get together, figure it out. There's no reason we can't do it. I have a mantra back home in our company. We are truly limited only by our imagination. Truly. I believe, and my team hears it all the time, we have the most talented people, the most tenacious people. We have unlimited resources. Don't tell me we can't do something. We can do whatever we put our mind to. We just have to turn our chairs, put our heads down, figure it out.
And that, I sense, gets back to focus on the details, where that right foot is. And
all that good stuff.
Good?
Yeah, all that good stuff. Envision and run and, because it happens, right? You say we're going to do solar. How? It's not viable. It doesn't work. I know, but, let's fall in love with the vision of it. Let's fall in love with, the vision of energy storage. Let's fall in love with that, and then let's just start following it around, and then it'll shake out. We'll figure it out.
Great. Back on the career side of stuff, thoughts for the young and old, thoughts about, hey, here's your journey of a career, advice for folks. You're having an extraordinary career. Thoughts on how the rest of us can be as equally exciting and successful?
I feel like I'm playing a video game because the clock keeps going up and then down. So it's like I'm going through these checkpoints. I'm getting more time.
No, you're
so
good.
I'm
We can wrap. We're going to wrap
okay.
in just a sec.
Listen, I would say my advice I give interns all the time is whatever you're, and other people, whatever your hands find to do it with all your might. That is like advice to live on and go on. And so if you want to have a successful career, focus on what's in front of you. Do it to the best of your ability. I think we're in a day and age, I just believe that in America in particular, you can literally give 70 to 80% effort and you're probably going to have a good life. You just will. You think about college days, and you studied probably 70, 80%, you still graduated, right? You can put forth 70, 80% effort, and you will have a comfortable life in America. Those who put forth that 100%, and then even add a little bit extra, you stick out like a sore thumb. You get more opportunity. People come to you and they say, hey, this is the person I want on my team. You get more exposure, you make more connections, and your career just kind of takes off. I've never been intentional about my career, ever. I just want to plow the ground I'm standing on, do it to the best of my ability. I want to honor the Lord with my hands and see what happens.
It can't be said better than that. Adam Wright, while you haven't been looking down the playing field on the career, there's no question why you are President and CEO of MidAmerican Energy. It is a true honor to have you here today. Was there a closing thought there?
Yeah, if you ever see a turtle on a fence post, you know he didn't get there by himself. And so it takes a whole team of people running at full speed. And so by all means, it's been great people surrounding me, from my mom to coaches to mentors to peers to bosses to employees. Sorry for the ice, I'm sweating. So that's all I was going to say.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause. Adam Wright.
Thank you, Tom.
Adam, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you.